Hello friends, happy 2018. Mark here at WhiskyWhistle, your wise choice in independent whiskey and spirits reviews. Today on Whiskey Review number 234, we're going to be looking at Bruichladdich, the Laddie 10, the second edition of the Laddie 10. Now this is the 10-year-old version of classic Laddie. That is the unpeated style coming from the Bruichladdich distillery, which is actually traditionally an unpeated whiskey. Now they do make two other kinds of whiskeys with different names known as Port Charlotte and also Octomore, which are actually heavily peated and super duper heavily peated. Now the second edition of the Laddie 10, this came out I think a year ago or so. Now this has 3 different casks involved. It has ex-bourbon, sherry, and also French wine casks. So that's quite an interesting mix. Now being owned by Remy Cointreau of France, that likely gives them great access to lots of different types of casks from the wine industry. That probably factored into the choice of casking, I would imagine. It's 50% ABV, it's unchill filtered, it's natural in color. So it ticks all the boxes that we like in a whiskey. Now I have this one that I just poured, and then we have one that I poured earlier on my previous botched review. I do that quite a lot, and so we'll get to compare them side by side in terms of color and nose and palate and everything. The neat one and also the one with a bit of water added. And you can already see a little bit of Scotch mist going on there, or Islay mist I guess we'll call it. So that'll be good. Now as I mentioned, this is coloring free, it's unchill filtered, it's 50% ABV. We can really take a good look at the color and enjoy it for all of its natural beauty. Now what color do you see there? When I look at that, I see something like the color of hay near harvest, perhaps a light gold. Anyway, it's quite beautiful. And given the shade, the sherry, I wonder if the sherry is a sherry made from white wine, from white grapes. That could likely be. Also, the French wine, I'm wondering, it's my guess that this actually might be Sauternes. Now, could somebody let me know if you do know what type of wine cask went into this? I would love to know. And interestingly, before I learned about the casking, I wrote down the notes, and there's a little bit of reflection in the notes leading towards French wine. So that makes me feel pretty good. Now, first of all, let's have a look at the legs. What kind of legs has the Laddie 10 got? Stroll it around the glass here, and let's have a look. Fairly slow leg development, and then it trickles down very slowly. Yeah, I think we can really expect this will have a very nice syrupy mouthfeel. Wonderful. On to the nose. It's very earthy. And for being unpeated, this is an unpeated Islay single malt Scotch whiskey. For an unpeated Islay, it actually has a little bit of phenolic content, and I think that's what comes from the water source. The spring source has a little bit of phenolic content, they say. And you really get that sort of saltiness, that little bit of little hint of, again, it's a tiny little bit of peat there, but it's really well in the background. If you set this next to some other Highland or Speyside unpeated whiskies, you would notice that there's a little bit of something different about this one. Anyway. Now it's not very sweet. There is a lot of herbal things going on here. There's ginger, there is something, this really, I can tell this is going to be very dry. And I wrote here that it reminded me of actually Palinka, which is interesting. The Azu Palinka that I tried I guess a couple of months ago. And I also wrote here Noble Rot, which I think Sauternes goes through. So that's really what I'm wondering about this one. And I also wrote Herb Garden, as I mentioned. And no sweetness on the nose at all. It's very different. All right, let's check out the palate. Cheers, everybody. Happy 2018. The palate starts out sour, a little bit bitter. The sweetness then follows, but it's very mild sweetness. Just a hint of vanilla, pepper, clove, a little bit of cardamom, a little more of this white wine influenced flavor that's coming through also on the palate. Boy, I hope I'm not wrong about that. I don't think that's going to be red wine though, given that color, but you never know. Now, I want to recommend that if you try this one, make sure that it is before anything really sweet, so like the sweeter Speyside or Highland, or some of the islands like Arran, or what else is around there? Even the Kilchoman, you may want to try this. Well, you will want to try because that has a little bit more peat. Anyway, so put that towards the front of your tasting flight. Also, I would put it ahead of any blends because they tend to be much sweeter. Anyway, so keep that in mind. If you have that after a very sweet malt, probably this will seem very dry and not sweet at all, and not really that approachable. All right, on to the finish. Cheers again. The finish is pretty long. Again, that savory sweetness is what's coming through here, and something kind of like Celestial Seasonings Red Zinger tea. A little bit of zestiness also in the finish, and I think that's that probably fresh bourbon cask. I think it's first fill. All right, now then, let's compare that one to the one with water added. This was poured in my previous attempt at this review, and have a look there. Can you see the difference in the shade? So this has gotten a little bit murky, a little bit cloudy, kind of like Hoegaarden beer. And this is, again, because it's unchill filtered, so you get this little bit of what they call Scottish mist or perhaps Islay mist. Let's look at them side by side. So the one on my left, which is your right, this is absolutely clear. And then you look over at this one and you definitely see that cloudiness, don't you? And it's not my fingerprints or those sorts of things. This is really just the liquid. And interestingly, I noticed if your house is on the cool side, even this will get cloudy. So that's pretty interesting. I came home from Japan. That's where I got this for about 7,000 Japanese yen. Very good price. And because it was in the cargo, I guess it was a bit cold by the time I came home, and it was all cloudy. So I thought that was pretty cool. All right, so the nose with water added. Well, a little bit more of the familiar single malt Scotch sort of sense. There's maybe a hint of cinnamon coming through here now. And a little bit of vanilla. Maybe more of a caramel. Yeah, not quite vanilla, more like caramel. A little bit less herbaceous. It's nice. All right, now the palate with water. Cheers. Not much difference. A little bit of honey added now. Still the same herbal flavors, but it's got that touch of honey sweetness. Very, very nice. It's also much juicier. And I'm getting something kind of like very ripe green grapes. And maybe red plums on the less ripe side. And the finish, the only difference really, a little bit sweeter. It's like it's had a little bit of white sugar sort of sprinkled over the previous finish. Interesting. Now, comparing those two, you definitely want to try both of the experiences, neat and with water. I prefer it with water. I think probably most people will like that with water. Of course, people who prefer sour and bitter flavors may like the neat version most. You'll have to try it on your own. Now, have you tried the Laddie 10, either the second edition like this one, or have you tried the first edition? I'd like to hear what your thoughts were on either of those. That'd be great. So, what's left here? Oh, the WhiskyWhistle Whisky Score. All right, well, the WhiskyWhistle Whisky Score for Bruichladdich, the Laddie 10 second edition, that's going to be 87 out of 100. Yes, 87 out of 100 is the WhiskyWhistle Whisky Score for Bruichladdich, the Laddie 10. Now, you might be wondering, that's a little on the low side for such a well-renowned, excellent Islay single malt Scotch whiskey distillery. And, well, here's my reasoning. The classic Laddie, the basic bottle, I really enjoyed that. I thought it was just incredible. It really blew me away how good it was. And I was having it with some friends who were pretty much novices with single malt Scotch whiskey. Everybody loved it. We drank that bottle from start to finish, about 5 or 6 of us, and all night long we were singing its praises. So I had really high expectations for this one, and I feel it fell a little bit short. Now, with water added, I really like it. I really, really do. But I should also really like it neat. And it's okay. It's good. It's very good. But it's not excellent. Anyway, and I write here, it's very different from the classic Laddie, which can be okay. However, it's not very approachable. This is definitely not a whiskey for someone who's new to single malt Scotch whiskey. However, this offers untold rewards. This offers excellent rewards for the real Scotch single malt whiskey connoisseur. So keep that in mind when you think about my score for 87. Well, that's about it for that. Now, before we close the show, I'd love to hear from you what you have done so far with 2018. Did you get up to anything interesting? If you were watching the channel, you'll know that I put up a special New Year's Day video. We drove to the coast of Korea, to the east coast, to the East Sea, and we watched the first sunrise of 2018. Probably we were one of the first, 1,000, 10,000 people in the world who saw the sunrise on the first day of 2018. So that was cool. And I caught it on film and did a little bit of a toast to 2018. So have a look at that one. Also, not long ago, I posted the 2017 WhiskyWhistle Whiskeys of the Year, Whiskey of the Year show. Have a look at that one. I've presented four winners and 2 runners-up for a total of 6 excellent whiskeys in that show. I'd love to hear your thoughts on those if you've tried them. What were your favorite whiskeys of 2017 that you tried? Let me know. Leave a comment, all right? And I'd love to hear your thoughts on this whiskey, this review, on my shirt, my little adornment in my pocket there. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and hey, share it with your whiskey loving friends, all right? Okay, so stay tuned for the next review, 235. What's that going to be? Well, you'll have to watch and see. Thanks for watching Whiskey Whistle. Be sure to subscribe, and don't forget to give this video a like and leave a comment down below. Be sure to stay tuned next time to join me, the host of the show, Mark, as I explore more whiskeys with you. Take care now, and we'll see you next time.